All right, so are you ready to dive into the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Always ready for a good superhero discussion.
Okay, cool. So today we've got this transcript from a podcast called Marvel Talk,
Oh.
where the hosts Ahmed and Marwan are, well, they're going head to head over the best and worst Marvel movies.
Oh, I love these kinds of debates.
Yeah.
Fans can get so passionate. It's great.
Exactly. They definitely don't hold back.
I bet. So, where do we start with this?
Well, let's jump right into it with the contenders for the best title.
Okay. The top tier. Makes sense.
Marwan is all about Avengers. Endgame.
Endgame. Yeah, I can see why.
He says it's like the peak of a decade of storytelling in the MCU.
It really brought everything together, all those characters, the huge battles, and of course, Avengers assemble. I mean, come on.
Right. Chills. But Ahmed, he brings up an interesting point, though.
Oh.
Some critics say that Endgame relies a bit too much on nostalgia.
I can see that. Playing to the fans a bit.
Yeah, like it might not stand as strong if you weren't already invested in the whole story.
But I think you have to consider the context. It was like the closing chapter of this massive saga, saying goodbye to characters we followed for so long.
Yeah, that's true. Like a big emotional send-off.
Exactly, for the fans who'd been there from the beginning.
Okay, so then, Ahmed's pick for best is Iron Man. The OG, right. The one that kicked it all off.
Classic. And you can't forget Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Legendary performance.
Totally. He as Iron Man, but get this.
Yeah.
Marwan throws out this curveball.
Yeah.
He asks, is Iron Man really better than Captain America? The Winter Soldier.
Whoa. Okay, that's a good one.
Right, because Winter Soldier took the MCU in a whole new direction, more like a spy thriller,
Yeah.
making you think about trust and the government and all that.
It really did shake things up.
So did Iron Man start it all, or did Winter Soldier actually push the genre forward? What do you think?
It's interesting how the MCU has evolved over time. Iron Man laid the foundation. And then films like Winter Soldier took it further, trying new things, exploring different genres.
Yeah. Right, like Marvel was testing the limits, seeing what a superhero movie could be.
Exactly. Taking risks, which is honestly pretty amazing. It keeps things interesting.
But not every risk pays off.
Right.
Let's talk about the films that maybe didn't quite hit the mark. The worst picks, according to our podcast hosts.
Okay, let's hear it. What are we dealing with?
Ahmed goes straight for Thor, The Dark World. Calls it out for a weak story, a villain you barely remember. The whole shebang.
Yeah, I can see where he's coming from. Malekith, the villain, he just wasn't that compelling. No depth, and the story felt kind of generic.
Yeah, like they played it safe. Nothing really new or exciting.
Exactly. It lacked that spark that we've come to expect from Marvel. But then Marwan throws a wrench in the works.
Uh-oh.
He thinks Eternals is even worse.
Oh, wow. Shots fired.
Too many characters. Storylines that went nowhere. He did not hold back.
Eternals definitely tried to do a lot. Maybe a little too much for some people.
It's true. They introduced this whole complex mythology.
Yeah.
And all these new characters. But it felt crammed together.
Yeah, it was hard to connect with anyone or really follow all the different threads.
Right. It was a bold move, but maybe too ambitious. So it's funny, right? Eternals aimed high and kind of missed.
Well, Thor, The Dark World just felt unoriginal.
But hold on a second. Even though Marwan criticizes Thor, The Dark World, he admits some fans actually like it.
Really?
They appreciate the emotional stuff between Thor and Loki. Those scenes, even in a film that might not be perfect overall, they offer a glimpse into their relationship.
That brotherly bond.
Oh.
It gets to you.
And that's what makes these conversations so interesting. What one person might dismiss, another person finds meaning in.
It's all subjective, different perspectives, what speaks to you personally.
Exactly. And that's just scratching the surface. We've got a lot more to unpack. It shows you how different everyone's experience with these movies can be.
It's kind of cool, actually. Even in the films that people criticize, there are still these moments that stand out, right? Things that connect with someone for whatever reason.
Totally.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if there really is a bad Marvel movie or if it's just like a matter of taste.
Yeah. Maybe instead of trying to rank them, we should appreciate what each one does differently. What do you think?
I think that's a great approach. Because there's so much variety in the MCU, different tones, different genres.
Right. They've experimented with so much over the years. It's part of what keeps it fresh.
From like the grounded spy stuff and Winter Soldier to the cosmic scale of Eternals.
Exactly. always trying something new. And even if it doesn't always work perfectly, you have to admire that they're willing to take those risks.
It's definitely kept the MCU exciting. But, beyond the stories themselves, I think the actors deserve a lot of credit too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They bring these characters to life.
Think about Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Iconic.
He set the standard. And then you have Chris Evans as Captain America. Perfect casting. So earnest and idealistic.
And Tom Hiddleston as Loki?
He made a villain into a fan favorite. So charismatic. And Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. She really evolved over time.
A strong, complex character. I mean, the casting in these movies has been spot on.
They don't just act the parts, they embody them.
They make you believe in these heroes.
Which isn't easy. It's not just about action. They have to be funny, but also vulnerable.
Show those human moments.
Like Chris Hemsworth as Thor. He's gone through so much loss, heartbreak, responsibility.
And he makes it all feel real.
That's why we get so invested. We laugh with these characters, we cry with them, we cheer them on.
That emotional connection is huge.
Absolutely, and that's before we even talk about the special effects and the action sequences.
Oh man, the action.
They've raised the bar on visual storytelling, Iron Man's first flight, the huge battles in Endgame. Incredible.
It's more than just spectacle, though, right? The action always has a purpose.
It's tied to the characters and their relationships.
Like, think about Captain America wielding Thor's hammer in Endgame.
So powerful.
It wasn't just a cool visual. It was a moment years in the making, you know?
Right.
It meant something.
Exactly. The action is at its best when it's connected to those deeper emotions.
Yeah.
When it has real stakes.
It's those moments that really stick with you.
It's like the hero's journey, but on a massive scale.
With amazing characters and incredible visuals.
But even with all that, it still comes down to those core ideas. Courage, sacrifice, fighting for what's right.
It's classic storytelling. No wonder people all over the world love these movies. They've become such a part of our culture.
I know. It sparked so many conversations and debates.
Everyone has their own opinions about the MCU.
It just keeps growing. The multiverse opens up endless possibilities. Who knows what they'll do next?
I'm excited to see what the future holds for Marvel. But, going back to Ahmed and Marwan, it's really interesting how these films get fans talking. I bet you have your own favorites and least favorites, too.
Oh, definitely. It's part of the fun. Arguing about which movie is the best or who's the strongest Avenger.
It's all part of the experience. So we want to hear from you. What are your top Marvel picks? And which ones just didn't do it for you?
What makes a superhero movie truly great, in your opinion?
What moments have stayed with you? What characters have inspired you?
Let's keep this conversation going. Because that's what the MCU is all about, sharing these stories and discussing them with other fans.
It's a journey we take together. So keep exploring the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Keep those debates alive.
And who knows, maybe you'll discover something new, a new favorite character, a new perspective on a film you thought you knew.
There's always something more to uncover. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a blast.